want to go home. I'm bored. It's not a quote, but I love that Torvin's driving motivation is just that he's just bored.
He just hates it there.
Oh, I've just been eating all this stew from Kalnaka every single day. I just want to get out of here.
They're like, we're on the most holy mission and you're bored.
Which I do get at first that he thought this mission was boring because they said they'd been there like 7 weeks.
And all they did was
and they're
just
like,
go out and
there's
get
nothing
samples.
here. Just getting samples of this. And he's like, I just want something of purpose. And then, those girls are my ticket home. See ya. He's out of here.
It would be disappointing. This is like your first official act.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done other stuff, but you would think.
Yeah, you just.
It would be.
Something I signed up for.
It's not why I'm a
Not
Jedi.
do it in it.
I'm
Gonna
not
pick
doing
leaves
it.
and stuff on it.
And that's where he needed to remember what Yoda said. Adventure. Like a Jedi, chases not these things.
Not these
Ah.
things. Yeah, you're right.
Never his mind on where he was.
That's
What
right.
he was doing.
True.
Master Yoda's out there. They're
He's
keeping
somewhere.
this all hidden from him.
True.
He,
All of it.
He could have something to say about
All
it.
of it.
maybe he's in the next episode.
All of it.
Or maybe he's not
that
in
would
the
be
show.
awesome.
True. Welcome back to the Star Wars Guys podcast. As always, we're your hosts, Mike,
Hello there.
myself, Nate. Hello there. And you know him well, Uncle.
Hello there. And that.
Hello there.
Just gotta add in it at the end. In it. And it makes sense. In it.
And
Hello there.
we are excited. It's been a couple weeks since we've been able to pod, so we're excited to be back
Are we
here.
potting or casting?
Ooh,
I think
we're
we're
casting
pod
some
racing.
pod.
I usually go. I gotta go cast a
We
pod.
gotta
Cast a pod.
cast it.
Now, this
Reel
is
it in.
podcasting. Yeah.
Now this is
It's been a while.
podcasting. It has been a while. We got
Yeah.
2 episodes to get through, and both of them are big ones.
Yeah.
Both of them are big ones.
Very different too. Like one is complete flashback. One is very focused on the
current.
the current, giving us a little bit of where things are going. Stuff is filling in what happens. So now we're ready to see how it all ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chimere,
a lot to
May,
get to.
Osha. There's a lot to dive into. So we're excited. We're gonna dive
Basil.
into it. But you might hear some stuff from episode 6 and some stuff from episode 7, and we're just gonna we'll just combine them. We'll combine them both and just go through everything. But usually we start with overall thoughts, so I guess we'll just combine both episodes. Overall thoughts.
I almost took a drink of my
last
mic.
2.
It's early. I almost felt like this. Oh, wait a second. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And that,
At least your mic is on. I've been there
True.
before.
overall thoughts. Overall thoughts on.
Man,
Uncle,
my
kick us
overall
off.
thought is Rotten Tomatoes is stupid. That's my overall thought.
I like that. thought, Mike.
14%. It's down to
Oh, the audio,
14%.
the critic,
Are you
or not the
serious?
critic, the
Yeah.
audience.
But did you see?
Alf. Alf has a higher
It's the
Rotten
second.
Tomatoes audience
It's the
score.
second
Well,
best
Alf-
score though, or
Oh,
most viewed.
it's crazy.
The
Well,
results are the second.
that's my
best.
overall
listen,
thought.
Alf,
It's disappointing.
Alf, though, at least consistently never broke canon.
That's true.
And they brought in a lot of the Alf Legends stuff.
That's right.
And the Alf
true.
expanded universe.
That's true.
Extended
No,
universe.
They
Wow.
brought in. Well, people loved it because they brought in Alf
Alf.
Alf, yes.
Alf.
instead of
I'm
Luke.
just glad they finally brought in stuff from all of us who have devoted our lives to the Alf
Yeah.
comics.
I have spoken out of turn. I don't actually know the Alf
Yes.
Rotten Tomatoes score.
If Alf is lower, then that's just
If Alf is lower, then I
Rotten
stand
Tomatoes
corrected.
is very-
I stand
We got
corrected.
Anakin Skywalker in the chat. Says hello, Star Wars guys. We got Captain Rex, Anakin and Rex.
Wow.
Rex says greetings.
This
Welcome
Where's the
everybody.
show
Welcome.
just popped up.
I love it. Now I want to rewatch.
Welcome.
Ahsoka, Kenobi,
Glad you
where
guys
are
are
you?
here.
Yeah.
We're talking overall thoughts, and man, my mind is going a lot of different directions. I have love that's challenging me.
Yeah.
None of this is kind of where I thought the Jedi would be, but they are. You can see the ego. It's just,
Yeah.
it's like oozing out in different ways. But it wasn't. I was thinking that it was going to be.
Yeah.
I
You mean
had the
particularly
impression
about
of the
episode
High
7?
Republic,
Or the time
kind of the
period?
show.
Yeah.
Kind of the show.
Yeah.
The High Republic, I had a different view of, but we've come. This is farther in the future from.
This is closer to the Phantom Menace.
So
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to feel like this, but
Yeah.
from the very beginning, the Jedi have just kind of shown an arrogance,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you see it in the last episode. You see it in just the way they come in, and then corrupt teach. You hear in that episode, you hear him talking about the kind of the things that they're saying, and I've loved it. It's been great, challenging.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
interesting.
How about the fact, because we've talked a little bit in previous episodes about the duality of the titles.
Yeah.
Of like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
and
yeah.
this, then light or then day and night. But then we had a couple that were
Single.
destiny and choices. And we were like, oh, that's interesting that they would have just one.
Yep.
And it's because these episodes 3 and 7 are the connection. So it's funny how at the time we're like, oh, that's weird that they're doing this, that, this. And then just a single, we're like, what's that? And then they make it very clear how 3 and 7 are. What I want to do, which I haven't done yet, is watch back-to-back episodes 3 and then 7 because they're two different perspectives of the same day and the same events that have been going on. The first time we get Mae, Osha, the Coven's perspective of this is what's going on. We see inside the Coven. We see things that, that it's what I like about the show, because still overall thoughts. I really like that this show, I think as much as I like the show, which I like it a lot, I think, and I've heard other people say this too, and I think it feels exactly what I'm feeling, is I think I enjoy talking about the show even more than I even enjoy the show. Meaning I enjoy the show a lot, but the show is so dense and gives you, there's some other shows that I really like that I feel like are kind of, I like it makes me feel really good. It's very plain what's going on, like in other shows.
Like Alf.
Yeah, Alf. There
Like
you go.
Alf.
Exactly. That's usually what I go to when I think of shows I like. I usually go
Not
back
much
a good
commentary
40
on
years.
that.
Yeah. There's
That's
not like
kind of.
there's not. What are the main themes in this week's
What was
Alf
Alf
episode?
thinking when he was trying to eat that cat?
I was trying to eat that cat.
What were his motivations?
And do you think that was a tie-in directly to the previous episode where he ate that other cat? And what do we predictions for next week's Alf
How did we
episode?
get
Is he
on
eating
Alf?
the cat?
Alien. I get it. It's an alien thing.
But meaning this show and like my feelings about episodes 6 and 7, which are very different episodes. There's so much there that I'm like, oh wow, this is
Can't
such
wait to
cool.
talk about this.
I can't wait to talk
Yeah.
about this. There's even stuff that's like, whoa, that's not what I thought was going to happen. I can't wait to talk about that. How that caught me off guard. Where there's other Star Wars shows that have come out
Also,
that
just the questions it poses throughout the.
there's
throughout
questions, the
series.
answers that we even got in this. Some of these things when we made our predictions after episode 3, some of them are actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And some were way off.
Way off.
Yeah.
Because we're
We're not
like,
gonna talk
I
about
didn't see
those.
that was going.
But the
Yeah.
other ones are
Yeah,
going
we
to
talk about
dive into.
But
Yeah.
I love overall. I love that this show is very much. I think if there's one message of this show, it's that the complexity of everything. Like I think this episode, tied with episode 3, does a really good job of. And there's little nitpicks and there's things that we'll talk about too that are like, oh, I think I liked the idea here and maybe the execution could have been a little bit different and maybe would have had a different like emotional reaction to me. What I really like is that episodes 3 and 7 and episode 6 for some of the previous episodes have so much of this. Okay, but this is from so-and-so's perspective. So if I was Osha in this moment talking to Chimere,
Yeah.
and I've seen the things that I've seen, what would I be feeling? Not as a viewer
Yeah.
who
How do I
knows the
feel watching
history
it?
of the Sith
Yeah.
and knows that
Yeah.
the Sith deal, many of the truths that we cling to, determine your own point of view, depend on your own point of view, as everyone would say. That Chimera is saying a lot of truths to her.
Yeah.
But why is he saying it to her? It's because what does he want from it? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah, exactly.
there are things that he's that the show is presenting, that he's doing to her that are very manipulative, but are also a lot of things that are true.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, interesting point of view, Chimera. And she could, from her perspective, be like, well, he's telling me the truth. He must be good. And for us as an audience, we go, yeah, Palpatine also.
Right.
Or Dooku is a better example than Palpatine. Dooku was right about
Told the
what he was
truth.
actually
Yeah.
saying to Obi-Wan
He didn't
Yep.
believe him.
on Geonosis. He's actually telling him the truth.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. This with this. It's just Dooku and Chimere's, way of going about it is Chimere floats in like a phantom into a conflict he's not a part of and wipes everyone out. He's clearly not the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as his philosophy and pointing out things that are going on with the Jedi, yes, he's telling the truth, and there are accuracies there. And what's on the same aspect with the Coven and with the Jedi? If I am just the Jedi and seeing just what I see from Soul's perspective in this episode, I understand why he's very alarmed of the bits and pieces he's seeing of how the girls could be in danger. But then also from the Coven's perspective in episode 3, when you see Jedi intruding, going over the walls to their home, you're like, this feels very intrusive. Why are the Jedi butting in to do something to our kids? So there's so much of this that I can't wait to even get into more of. I love that it's even to the very moment of the stab is complex, because it's like, okay, Soul was confused over who this was. She turns into a black mist, which is that's not a good move when lightsabers are involved. There's so many things here to talk about, but I just love the complexity of it, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Long-winded answer.
I agree. I think it's great, and I liked having those episodes back to back, which it kind of led that way because Soul talks to Mae about, like, I'm gonna tell you everything. Yeah. But I like seeing the episodes back to back and kind of seeing the different perspectives. It does answer a lot of questions, some of which we maybe predicted or were close on, some of which I didn't see coming. And I didn't think
Mae started the fire, but I thought. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was an accident. I shouldn't say. I said that I think it's an accident. We didn't see her actually throw it. She did drop it,
and we do see that there was
trying to put it out.
Yeah, we do see that she did start. She burned the book on purpose. She didn't burn down the fortress on purpose.
Yeah,
because she burned it, and then all of a sudden, she tries to put it out.
And they're not dead, right? I'm assuming they're not dead.
I don't know. The witches that got
the witches.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they're
dead now.
I took it as they died.
I don't like that.
I thought that they died though. I think that maybe they died because I think the fortress comes down on itself at the end.
Maybe that. But when they were laying there,
they all do that.
It looked like Indira pushed them out, and they were
passed out,
exhausted from the.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Indira
just killed them all. If that's the case, then
yeah,
just killed them all.
Also, kind of a not to be critical. Kind of a weak way to go if you're that powerful.
Yeah, I thought
it seemed like swooned. To me like they were
in connection.
They were in such a deep connection, but also controlling his mind. That her counter to that was controlling their mind and basically shutting it off.
Yeah,
but still, the shutting off the connection killed them.
No, I know that's what I mean.
Like 40
I mean,
of them
shutting
at
off
once.
like their mind. Somehow she through that connection with Kalnaka accessed their minds because they were all linked to Kalnaka, and in doing so, shut off their.
I also like the idea.
That's how I took it, but
I like the idea that Mother Anastasia can control Torben, but Kalnaka Wookiee takes 40 of these witches to control
to get him
in a
fight
fully fight and everything.
Yeah.
Overall thoughts still?
No, yeah. So I loved it. I thought it was interesting. I like that we got a lot of questions answered. There's still some left out there.
Yep.
I'm still curious at what point does Chimera get involved? Are we going to even see that?
I have some quotes from Leslie Headland's recent interview she did this week that I will read.
Yeah, I read about that.
She's been doing a bunch of interviews.
She has been doing a bunch.
Some of which I've tried not to read everything.
She's opening stuff up.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm also curious at what point, like, how exactly did Mae survive? Because we did see her fall.
Yeah, we have a lot of
even that. There's a lot of moral dilemmas and tough decisions that were laid out to kind of show you how things went wrong for the Jedi in this and why they feel bad about certain things, but also not doing it in such a way that you're like, oh, they just went in and mowed them all down.
Yeah.
It was like they showed like Soul and the mom, but like also she was turning into this black mist.
Also doing it in a way like
Right.
the pretty scary
way, but also seeing who he thought was Osha, but was actually Mae, happening to her at the same time. So thinking like, oh, maybe she's
in
hurting her or in trouble, and then boom, reacts in the moment.
Yeah.
So it's like, and she does say, I was going to let Osha go, but that wasn't Osha, that was Mae. So it's like, what was actually happening?
And that wasn't good enough, though.
Yeah.
That wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
They had to let them both go. I think I remember my kids one time. I won't say which one. I was like, they were playing or something. Then she hit through a ball, right? And I can't remember the specific details. And she hit him in the leg with the ball. She said, I didn't mean to hit him in the leg. I was trying to hit him in the head.
Yeah.
So the circumstances we put ourselves in make some things inevitable.
Yeah.
The fact that they're there, there's no other way this could ever go.
Yeah.
They came in once. They told him to leave. They came in
you're
again.
Saying the Jedi coming in again.
The fact that they're there, there is no other way.
There's no.
This is ever going to
this
end.
As an
this is going to be. There's going to be violence.
Yeah. There's no other way.
Yeah.
The mistake was made coming back in.
Yeah.
That was the mistake.
Yeah, Torben.
Or you could call it a mistake or not. Maybe they were right to try to free the girls.
What do you guys think about this? Let me ask you.
Yeah, and then I've got a thing that I think is that'll.
Do you think what went down with Torben specifically, but all of them, I guess, as a whole? Do you think the way we saw everything go down, the way it was laid out, kind of justifies Torben's torment on himself for 16 years of whatever it was, isolation?
I'll be honest. I am a little mixed on that
and stuff.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm a little mixed on it. Like meaning like
when
we talk
what
about
they did
what we saw
so,
in the episode,
so bad
I actually
that he
thought
felt like
it was gonna go further than it did. Like the Jedi. That clearly they made a lot of mistakes, and we'll talk all about each of the things there. And then I think the witches, that there are things that I don't know if I'd call them mistakes, because I think it's actually like their way of life. So it just means I think that this is the way they behave. Yeah. There are mistakes, and there are also reasons why they did things that I really want to get into. The Torben thing I do think is interesting because in the moment, and and when I sit back, I'm trying to analyze the full story of Torben of what we've seen. In the moment, my immediate reaction was, "Oh, interesting that he had." Well, so I will say this: Soul is a lot more responsible than I thought he was going to be responsible for, as far as the bad decisions on this.
Yeah.
Now, I do think there are reasons, because we're going to get to those too, from his perspective as why he did certain things. Because what he sees from behind the trees he sees these two girls talking in the forest when he sees them from afar, and they're saying, "I don't want to do the ascension. I don't want to do that," and talking about this. And you're like, okay, interesting. And then he doesn't see them then go back to their home, and their mother's there giving them spice pops and all this stuff.
Telling them they can't stray too far. It's like sounds like they're being held hostage.
Yeah, and he doesn't see the part where like Mother Anastasia is being a pretty good mother to them, and like go have some spice pops, go let him have a snack,
and letting Osha choose. Actually,
then you come back, and when he catches up with them later, he's seeing them on this
pushing them
to the ground. And even though they're doing what I would maybe argue the Jedi do a lot of, they're training. Mm-hmm. They're training. Anakin pushes Ahsoka to the ground all the time, like to try to teach her you have to protect yourself. But what he sees is a girl who now he's adding things up in his mind of I've only seen a girl who doesn't want to do the ascension and her sister who wants to.
A girl is getting pushed around.
A girl's getting pushed to the ground, and she's saying, "I expect more from you." And Coral getting upset. I expect more from you, Osha.
Then doing a test on them, and literally her saying, "I want to join you."
Yeah, and so all this stuff is leading into, but the Torben part of it, I think, is interesting because one, his overall, and maybe this is the good way to us to do this podcast is, let's go through kind of the main characters of what we've seen so far and talk about what we think about them, because I have thoughts on Indara, but let's do the Torben part of it right now. Torben. His main motivation, and what we see is he doesn't want to be there. He's bored. He feels like he's on a meaningless assignment.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll talk about. The point of the show is that we're only seeing part of the story.
Yes. Yeah.
Torben's story is much deeper, I believe.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go home. Just there's something.
There's something.
I think,
you
know what I mean? For sure. I think the desperation as to why he wants to go.
Yeah, we don't know the reason.
End there, I think, is then out of fear. I do think that I think he is very, after she gets into his mind.
It could be.
I think he's so uneasy about even being there that now it's like a panicky.
Yeah, now he's like, I have to go home.
Like, before I wanted to get out of here, I thought we were going to do something of purpose.
Yeah.
I want something of, and so then the virgin.
Now he's
initially,
uneasy about what's going on.
Yeah.
Then the thing happens where he loses complete control.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're going to hang around to try to no, I don't want anything to do with that. We got to go home.
Yeah.
Which is then interesting, though, that he rushes back there.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure about that decision. But then what I was going to say is what's interesting is the fact that he's so tortured by this. And obviously,
yeah. Go ahead with the.
Is interesting because he doesn't then rush in. He actually rushes back, and then Soul and them chase after him like they're going to go stop him. But then Soul catches up to him, and he actually talks to him and says, "Hey, do you want to come with me?" And then they both go over into the
it
thing.
Wasn't just him, it was Soul.
So then it's now Soul, who is a master with a Padawan, who Soul could completely de-escalate at that point and say, "Let's get out of here." Except Soul's really invested personally. He really wants a Padawan.
Once they got there, they saw the doors and stuff were locked. So they thought, "Oh wow, they're really not letting them out at all."
Yeah, and from the witch's perspective, they're like, "These Jedi might come back. We're jamming the door so they can't come in." So it's so interesting.
For them, they're like, "Oh wow, they really are not letting these girls leave at all. They're not going to let Osha leave either."
And that was Mae.
Yeah.
That was Mae.
Yeah, that was Mae.
Destroyed the control.
Coral tells Mae, "Get angry."
Yeah.
Get angry. So it's also interesting because the witches are not all, mono. They don't have the same thoughts. But yeah, Torben,
let's talk about
do you
Torben.
think that Torben's what was when you see what happened in his involvement? Did you at the end, because he's not the one who kills her. He's not the one who. I mean, he is the one who goes back, but Soul goes back, and then then Indara goes back.
There are two ways you can do this. You can get mad and cry about it and say that's so stupid. He would never do that.
Oh yeah.
Or
that's not how I feel.
You can do what we try to do, and that is try to understand that there is something that they're thinking about.
Yeah.
I think that it is his reaction is a symptom of his character.
Yeah.
So afterwards,
so him reacting differently than
the
others
guilt,
is not,
people
not
think that guilt is humility. Guilt is arrogance. Guilt is typically arrogance because he thinks his part was so bad. His part was so important. His role in this was so important that he caused all of it. That's ego. He didn't. He's elevating his place in the whole thing. I caused the entire thing. If I hadn't gone back there, none of this would have happened. She wouldn't have died. The place wouldn't have been burned down.
Yeah, that's how he feels.
That's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
So in his mind, this is totally justifiable, and he shuts down. And the shutting down was a decision. It's easier probably to stay in that place after you're there.
Yeah.
It's not a constant. When he goes into the trance, it's not something I don't think he's doing every day. I think he locks into that place, and he shuts off. So I think in his mind, he caused all of it. He was weak. They took control of him. He's a weak Jedi. He was impulsive. He went in there, and all of it fell apart because of him. He was so important, and he blew the whole thing because of his role. So I think it was perfectly appropriate how he reacted.
Also,
I don't think it's appropriate. I think he thinks it was appropriate.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. True.
That's what I think.
Appropriate.
I think it was right. He should have burned. No, I think in his mind that was exactly what should happen.
Because
isn't that such a waste?
Yeah,
it is.
Think about the waste of those years.
Also,
how much good could he have done?
Yeah.
How much good could he have done in that time?
Can I also say he was a stud with the saber?
Oh my gosh,
he was
goodness.
Anakin
awesome.
in that saber.
He was awesome.
Fighting off arrows.
Yeah.
Watching that, I was like, Torben's a beast. They really. I mean, I've seen a lot of the behind the scenes stuff of all of them training for this.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of like the prequel training.
I just want more.
I know, it's so good.
We didn't get enough of these guys. I want
at least
more.
we got a lot of Jackie a few episodes ago.
I know.
True.
So what do you guys think? Is that?
Yeah, no,
think that makes sense.
I also think I love the point you made of instead of focusing on these 4 Jedi are involved in this thing, and he takes it the hardest. He must have done the worst thing. It's also, I think it's a better thing of like,
guilty.
his personality's different than the others.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great
point.
I
I
think that's a great point. I think so far, even like on the podcast, I've been focused on we got to find out what horrible thing Torben. Now, again, he didn't do some horrible thing. Like we were worried like he out of fear just massacred everybody, like actually did something.
Right.
Or that they controlled him and he
he says we thought we were doing what was right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
that's why I love what the show is doing, because from the witch's perspective, I totally would take the Jedi after we said get out of here, them coming back and now going over the walls to come in. How could you not take that as
you're here to fight?
We are now we're drawing our firearm essentially, like someone's broken into our house.
That's
You're
right.
no longer knocking on the doorbell. We now found out that you broke one of the windows and now you've come in. Now I can only assume you're here to hurt my family.
He's also not talking about Osha anymore. He's talking about the girls. He's talking about the twins.
Yeah.
That's enough for Coral to go, no.
Yeah, and
She's not going to let Osha go anyway. But
how about the fact
there's
that
no way they're both leaving.
also when we talk about, so we can do this.
Yeah,
So
don't
what-
let your sister go.
What do you guys think about the Torben thing? Is that
I
seem
think
reasonable?
at first I was probably not like I was never like mad or upset about it, but
No,
I think at
what in
first
the
I
world?
Neither
Why
was
would
I.
he do that?
I was
did
kind
think-
of more of like, oh, I
I
know
was like,
exactly
nah.
what they're going for. I wonder how I like basically how that revelation connects with me. And like me trying to
I
piece
thought
together.
okay,
Not
I
of,
see where things went
I
wrong.
never do the whole that wouldn't happen. So and so wouldn't do it. Like
No,
he
no.
did. What are they trying
Why?
to get across
Yeah.
to us?
because they're
here?
not idiots.
Yeah.
People making it or not.
And my first thoughts are, okay, here's the outcome. Here's what's happened. Okay, I see where things went wrong, where they'd feel guilty. But I at first I questioned like, would it lead to that something that extreme? And then honestly, the way you've laid it out, I think makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like it's not
great.
it's not
It's really
justified based off of who did the worst act, but more so the character and the
How they
person,
feel
how
about
they feel
their
about
things.
what their view is of what went down.
And
in
he was-
his view,
He's also
he
the
thinks,
youngest.
He
by
was still
far.
a Jedi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
They
also
didn't
the
kick him out of
youngest.
the. I mean, he's still.
Yeah.
He was also
He
the
faced
youngest.
some
You don't know.
repercussions, something.
And he probably and there's a lot more to it. Think about this. I mean, they all probably feel some guilt too of lying.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's another thing I want
We're
to
going
talk
to talk
about.
about Indara.
Well, he also had
carrying
some
that
kind of
on.
brain damage.
We need to talk.
He almost crushed his skull.
I mean, the
yeah.
skull-
Oh yeah. We
There
see
was
how he got the
some-
scar.
There was some kind of mental damage there.
There was.
I mean, I think.
Yeah. So as we're going down
Yeah.
through the different characters of this thing, one revelation that I almost want to. I don't think we even said anything negative about them on the podcast, but I almost want to apologize to Indara because the way that they give us Indara in episode 3, we kind of think that she, from the perspective that we get of the witches, she is kind of the, in the name of the Republic, you follow, this is the law. You know that respectfully, of course,
Right.
you wouldn't go against the law of us testing your daughter. And she feels like actually the most kind of pushy, authoritative.
Yeah.
And in this episode, that couldn't be further from the truth.
No, it's not.
She is trying the whole time to tell Soul, we
Let it
should
go.
not go in there. This is a bad idea. They're going to take this as an act of war, as an act of aggression towards their family. And Soul says, Soul is so desperate also for
I just think they're
for
all
for a meaningful, like for a big meaningful moment, and feeling like they're there for like that their destiny is that they're there
and
in
but
the
it is-
Virgin's
and a
possibility.
Padawan. I mean, they blatantly
Yeah.
said that he
Padawan,
was-
and
Yeah.
she makes a jab at him like, you a Padawan, like basically saying like you're not ready, like basically they know that he's kind of like he doesn't necessarily follow all of like kind of the way that the Jedi Council didn't want
That's
Qui-Gon
funny.
on
I
the
have
council,
such
which is
mixed
interesting.
feelings about the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I do too. And so, and real quick, this one thing on Indara that I didn't want to lose my train of thought, and then remember what you were going to say. But what's so interesting about what they do and what Leslie Headland and the writers and everybody do about this episode is that Indara says, no, we shouldn't do that. Okay, not going to do it. Okay, even once we find out more information, okay, I got to check with the council. She gets back to Soul. The council said, no, we're not doing this. So she is not the, let's go in saber first. Let's go in, do this. We are the Jedi. Let's puff our chest out and they should just bow to our whim because we're the Jedi. even though I think that that's presented a little bit like that in episode 3. You think that that's kind of their and then the moment that she even then, and I get it from her perspective, then goes, well, darn, maybe we do need to investigate this, is the miscommunication, misquoting that Mae misquotes Mother Anastasia about the Ascension. And
that's right.
She says, Mother Anastasia says, when they talk in episode 3 about part of the Ascension and what's important about the Ascension is, for the good of the coven, each of us have to sacrifice a part of ourselves. She means metaphorically.
Right.
We sometimes have to give up something in some of our own self-interest for the good of the family, for the good of the group. Mae's
we have to sacrifice ourselves.
Oh yeah, everyone has to sacrifice themselves.
We have to sacrifice ourselves.
Everyone, she says something like everyone must be sacrificed. You're like, well, that's a completely different thing. I was worried about your safety. Soul has already overheard something that sounds like you don't want to be a part of this. There's only 2 children a part of this. We're worried what the role is of these children, and now I get from the child's mouth that, oh, well, yeah, what's the Ascension about? Well, everyone has to be sacrificed. And then Indara goes, well, darn. Now I think this is at least worth looking into now.
Yeah. And she had just found out that they are the potential reason for the virgins.
The potential reason for the virgins, we know that at the very least there's something unnatural because they're not just they clear up, they're not a dyad in the Force of like they're not just connection. They are literally the same DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And Leslie Headland actually said in her interview that we will get a definitive answer on that in the next episode.
Oh, that's
great. I think we're going to see how they get a
definitive. She said there are some things she said there are some questions and things that I want you to speculate about moving forward. This is not one of them. This is one I want to give a definitive answer on in this season, in this finale.
We've got
Indara, I think I have a very different. So it's more sad seeing Indara die in episode 1 now.
Yeah.
When you go,
knowing her actual role in it,
she was the least responsible of any of those 3 as far as responsible for the tragedy involved in it.
She wasn't even there the last night.
No,
she was
and
flying the ship.
My thing would be actually like, man, a little unfair that I know she was a part of the group. A little unfair that she was on Mae's hit list.
She was the command.
She really was the most trying to prevent all of that from happening.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
I was just saying real quick, we got Darth in the chat says hello. I'm so worried the last episode will be like 30 minutes long. I hope not.
Oh,
I don't know.
Man.
Do we know the time frame?
43 again?
43.
I think they said that the same as last episode.
Good.
43.
All right.
With credits, so it's like 36 or something.
I do want to so Osha and Mae, we're going down each character.
Mm-hmm.
Osha and Mae, now that we've seen the perspective, a lot of it is similar to what we kind of predicted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did talk about how we thought Mae didn't start the fire, which
Mae
she did start
the fire. It was always burning.
It was Ryan and the PETA.
Yeah. So
Joe McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studebaker Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That's impressive.
We find out Mae did start the fire. She tried to put it out.
Yep.
But she did start it.
Yep.
But we finally do see the perspective, which we predicted. Something happened where the Jedi killed the witches, or at least some of them, because, or at least the mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Mae does come into Osha and say, "Mom's dead. Where's mom? Or where's mother?" And then her response is, "She's dead." She doesn't say, "I killed her."
Yeah.
She said she's dead.
We also get the answer.
So we get the
Jedi
answer
do kill unarmed.
The Jedi did kill unarmed.
Now and then, Soul's argument might be, is black goo mist?
Magic?
Is black
magic
unarmed or not?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
She was like, no, I was just giving her a black magic hug before I sent her away.
Exactly.
He also thought that it was Osha instead of
True.
Mae,
Yeah.
which is another thing.
So
His eyesight was.
seeing Mae's perspective, we see why she blames even though she was a part of what started everything.
Yeah.
She sees it as whether I started the fire or not. These people just came all in and killed everybody, essentially, and saw that unarmed strike right before her eyes. So, like, we see Mae's perspective on why she's mad at them, why they're on her hit list, why she goes running. We haven't seen yet how she survived, but we finally get to see the points of view between Osha and Mae. Was there anything between the two characters that kind of shocked you guys or was different than what maybe you predicted?
This can tie in now to a little bit of our thoughts of episode 6 also, because we haven't gotten much of that yet. I think what's interesting of what they've done with the present timeline leading up to the end of episode 6 and then episode 7 is I think it's really interesting the way that I think we were presented in episode 3, that it feels like, and throughout the show, kind of, especially once we found out that there may be like one consciousness split into two bodies, your mind then goes, oh, maybe it's not as simple as this, but you then think, oh, like maybe Osha's kind of more of the light side and Mae is more of the dark side. And I think there is some tendency that I think we see with Mae with like the floating butterfly thing at the beginning, that she does gravitate towards doing the things Chimere talked about, which is tapping into her anger, tapping into her sadness, tapping like into these strong emotions that get this visceral, reaction, this tapping into dark side energy type stuff, where Osha is a lot more of just kind of, not as quick to anger. She does show anger towards Chimere when she kind of like, because I failed, and like then the dark side stuff starts to come out a little bit. But this episode was interesting because it softens Mae, because we see that she is just a child, and that not only did she not mean to burn the whole place down, what child that has an adult get in their face and go, get angry, get mad, doesn't then go
do something rash.
Go do something. So like it makes sense. I remember when we watched episode 3.
She also blatantly said, "Don't let Osha leave.
No matter what, don't let her leave."
Okay, so I'm gonna lock her in her room.
Yeah, and so when you get an episode 3, I remember thinking like, "Whoa, that feels intense." Like even from a writing perspective, I thought at the time, and now it just makes perfect sense of what they were doing. I thought that was a strong, almost odd delivery when she says, "Then I'll kill you" to Osha, and I was like, "Whoa, that was strong." That Mae says, "Then I'll kill you." It's because 2 seconds ago her mother just said, "No matter what, this is what Coral said.
Do you want her to stay?
You want her to stay? Make her stay.
Yeah.
Look at me. Get angry. And okay, I'm gonna go tell my sister that no matter what, I don't care if I have to threaten to kill her. I don't actually want to kill my sister.
No, it's just a threat.
She had no intent on doing that. It was scare her, keep her in her room.
Yep.
You have this book, this thing that makes me think of your connection to the Jedi. Okay, we're burning this. Boom. Uh-oh. Now something's out of control. And so, and then later she's just afraid of what's going on. So it makes, I think, a lot more sense of just, yes, there are differences between Mae and Osha, maybe as far as what their natural inclination or their initial responses maybe lean a little more light and a little more dark based on how they react to certain things. But also, it's one has they have a mother Coral who's also feeding into that and pushing her.
You often have a daddy's girl and a mama's girl. Yeah. Often, not always, but there's some. Mae is a Coral girl. Osha is
and I think you could say Coral is also taking advantage of that too.
And so I think Mae, either for whatever reason, often is influenced strongly by Coral.
Coral.
Yeah.
And
Anastasia seems to have a deep connection with Osha.
It just seemed I think Anastasia is troubled by some of the things she sees. Here's an interesting thing though. What actually has the Coven done that's evil? What have they actually done that now we connect it with Dathomir, the witches. Yeah, what have they actually done?
They make it specific in this that they're not Night Sisters.
No,
that's
what have they done? What did they do?
Like,
what have they done that's evil?
That's the thing.
What have they done?
We haven't seen it other than
we know that
what the
people who forced themselves into their house and said we're going to take your children did.
Yeah, we know that they were banished, or we know that they were exiled.
But
and we know that they said we don't want them to find out how we made these girls.
Yeah. That's what I think that's interesting about the show is that the Jedi are the ones that we see doing all of the stuff that's questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are assuming all of these things about the Coven. Mother Anastasia is not in line with what the Coven wants.
Yeah.
No, she's not. She's going against them actually.
So
the whole coven tells her that they want them to stay, and
That's
she
right.
said, "I'm choosing Mother.
That's
I'm
right.
letting her go."
So I think it's that they have these girls created in the Force. They're a coven of witches. The Jedi see that commit, but Mother Anastasia does not have that same goal. I don't think she has the same goal.
No.
So the misunderstanding, but
also
do the
makes
Jedi
it more
have
tragic that Soul accidentally kills the one person who actually is on their side.
the
there,
one person.
Yeah.
who actually was going to, because the rest of them
Yeah.
are more batten down the hatches. You know, they're
Listening
like
to Coral.
Yeah, like meaning they're more
Yeah.
they're more likely to not listen to her.
I'm not saying they're not
Yeah.
evil, but I'm saying in this scenario we haven't seen
We
them
haven't seen-
do anything that
Yeah.
is. But the Jedi have come, and I was hoping the
for
show
sure.
would do that.
It's interesting.
Would
It's very
challenge us
interesting.
on the Jedi. Every single one of these, maybe Yord and Jecki, they're all liars. They're all lying. They're all lying.
Yeah.
Other than
And
the
it's-
ones, Jordan,
Yord-
Jecki,
Yord-
or Yord
but
and
it's
Jecki,
like-
who are getting
That's justified. Like even
roped
in Dara,
into it.
we can't tell the council, Vanestra Rowe. Let's keep this hidden because we think
Yeah.
maybe she trained
yeah.
come here.
We don't know. It's
Soul
going-
spends his entire time training Osha under a lie. Master Torben comes back, and I don't know if he faced the council or what he did.
Yeah.
Kel Naka, obviously, we don't see it, but had to feel.
Yeah,
He went into
feels-
hiding. He just went off. Like,
he had to feel guilty.
I
He went into
can't do
hiding,
this
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So
and intentionally to a place that was extremely dangerous that most people venture into and can't get out of.
Yeah. I guess
Um,
taking control of Master Torben's kind of evil. But Padawan Torben.
Like controlling
Oh
his
yeah.
mind.
So yeah.
but,
so let's.
but even that.
So yeah. So there is definitely some. There's definitely some. What I would
It's-
say
what
dark
question
side
is-
manipulation.
There's dark
like-
side magic for sure.
But also, like, I understand, so I'm not saying, like, justified dark side or whatever. I think what's interesting is I understand why they. So I think of this, it's hard to not sometimes go, like, a little. When you, like, to translate into some sort of real world scenario
Yeah.
of, like, a parent protecting their children.
Right.
Or, like social services checking on, like, is this an unsafe home for
Right.
you?
Yeah.
And at what point is it, do you always wait until it's too late? Or is it like, so there's so much of that's so interesting of, well, we've seen this, let's keep an eye on it, but we've only seen this perspective. Also, the misunderstanding is like the misquoting we talked about earlier is interesting because part of their information is even wrong. But then also from the other's perspective, we see enough that's like, yeah, but we don't know for sure that they're not that. So like, it's not that you should.
it's intentionally
So
trying to
they're
make
intentionally trying to. It's not supposed to look like 100% this side was 100% right and this
That's
side was 100% wrong. It's like,
Yeah.
I think this side was definitely wrong in this decision.
That's right.
And then also what
try-
we've seen is, but we also know that Torben was just a scared Padawan, and even Mother Anastasia, who of the witches we've seen, we I think are supposed to like the most because she seems like the best mother.
She definitely
seems like
manipulated him. and
she
being
not
like,
only
"You wanna go
manipulated him,
home?"
she absolutely like
I can get
seduced
you
him
home.
even. Like
Yeah.
so there was seduction there of like, don't you just want? She put it this
She
way.
did.
She talked in dark side terminology a little bit in that of. Now I'm not saying she's connected at all to like dark side like Sith or anything like that, but she did the. Well, don't you just want to go home? Shouldn't you just get what you want?
Yeah.
Like just like basically. Well, if you desire it, why don't you just get what you
That's
desire?
right. I can give you whatever you want.
Which, in words itself, is something that like the Jedi are not necessarily like. That's usually the kind of the opposite of the Jedi saying just give in to your impulse. give
That's
into
what's
this.
getting me.
So that's what's so interesting is they
That
do
is-
that type of thing.
That is true. What's getting me though, that is traditionally what the Jedi are. That's not what these people are.
That's
Yeah.
what's interesting. 'Cause,
No, that's not.
this is because they've already crossed
Darth
the line
has a
on
lot of
certain
good points
things.
in
They-
here too. We'll get
That
to.
all these Jedi have bad judgment.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm looking at Padawans who shouldn't have been brought in.
No, not
yeah.
no, there's
They have
no.
ulterior motives. They all do. They're impulsive.
Yeah,
They're jealous. They're easily manipulated. they react too quickly.
Let's say they're not even
impatient.
united as far as together.
I've seen more Jedi fighting each other in this show than all of the other stuff combined.
Even our two kind of most
Soul,
Indara and Soul actually get face to face like they're gonna fight on the ship. Like
that's right.
Corbin's the one that says
I'm like, whoa! I've never seen like a scuffle between
That's
Jedi.
right. The Jedi are
there.
in an odd place.
And honestly, the
as
two
a whole that's
I would say
over
the
that's
two
kind of starting
that
to rot the whole system.
It feels
of
like
Jedi
it.
I would
a
say
little
the
bit.
two Jedi that were part of the scenario from the beginning of the show that seemed to be the most like level-headed.
Yeah.
Were Soul and Indara, and those two are the ones
now,
that are the most to blame.
Seems like whoa, right?
They're the ones that are the most to blame,
and they're leading
because part of it is, I mean, Indara didn't want to go in, but now once they've gone in, Indara, well, one, she is responsible for all of them dying, so killing them essentially.
We don't know if now again, she's trying to just stop.
She's trying to stop. So, I'm not saying it wasn't just. I'm not saying it's not justified because they're under attack.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a war. There's, you
right.
can justify those
once
things.
you get there.
But that doesn't mean
good about the show.
That doesn't mean you're
mistake, then this mistake on this side.
That doesn't mean there's not still responsibility to be had. And then she's also the one who comes up with the idea of, no, we're going to tell them this is what happened.
Yeah.
And Soul goes, I have to tell them truth. And they're like, and she's the one who actually says, for what? You're
now,
you're
going to
throw away this girl's opportunity.
I understand that.
In her defense,
and I understand it, but she still comes up with the.
Can I also say
it's not a clear Jedi line. It's not clear.
It's not a Master Yoda thing. It is a little bit more of maybe something. I'm not saying Qui-Gon would quite go that far, but it was something Qui-Gon would entertain more than
Dooku for
Obi-Wan
sure.
necessarily.
What are you trying to do?
There's things justifiable in order to do the right thing.
In order to do the right thing, not for us, but for someone else.
That's right.
And this is
we're not doing it to try and cover ourselves up. We're doing it because helping cover ourselves up is actually what's going to help this girl the most.
Yeah, this is also it is a.
But it isn't.
It is an Anakin thing. Before I would say, it was an Anakin thing that I would say we admired about him in the Clone Wars. Not Anakin at like clearly going down the path of the dark side, but Anakin, we don't abandon someone
crossing some lines for the right.
We don't abandon someone. We don't leave someone out there if we think we can save them. It's that type of a thing of like, even though it's not the Jedi code, we sometimes break the Jedi code to do something for the greater good. But this was interesting. I think Indara. Also, to defend Indara there, I also like that she's like, oh, now you're going to listen? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Now you have this conscience that's like, well, now I have to fess up. She's like, I've been telling you, like, don't give me that now. Like,
I've been telling you from the beginning.
She's
you need to obey the order.
Listen to the order. Listen to the order. You don't listen to her and go, okay, now I just need to I need to just get this off my chest. She's like, save your conscience now, because now we're all involved in this. And this poor girl, if your whole point of doing this was that you thought you wanted to rescue her and protect her, and you think that she is potentially to be a Jedi, if we tell her now, she is never going to be a Jedi. So just if that was your reason.
If we tell the council what happened, and how she was made.
If it's out there, this could destroy this girl.
Yeah.
Now, does it make it right to lie to the council? I don't know. Like, there's this gray area there.
Yeah.
There's also the argument of kind of the Obi-Wan argument of like Obi-Wan from A New Hope of me not telling you everything in the moment. Whether you can argue whether it's a right or wrong thing. Adults don't tell their children everything at every stage in their life because they're not ready to hear it.
Right.
You usually tell them things that you think are the most essential to what they're going through at that stage in their life or to that, because if Obi-Wan had told Luke in A New Hope, well, Jedi, named Darth Vader, hunt down, destroy the Jedi. He's also your father. Would you like to get involved? You'd be like, whoa,
Yeah.
like it would just be so much that he is not.
I actually was the one.
So
who,
I actually chopped off his legs and I did this and I chopped off his legs and did all that. Like, there's so much. Do you want to come with me? You're like, no, you just said you killed my father. So there are points I think in other Star Wars things that like if you tell someone the full thing at that moment, but now the argument could be what happened in the years to come that because Osha leaves the Jedi. We don't know why she leaves the Jedi then like 6 years later or 10 years later. There are so many things I think are, again, like, oh, I get why they didn't do this, but but is that a mistake? Or I kind of side with Indar on this one, but also Soul, I see now you're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But like you also are doing it now too late when you should have done something here.
Yeah.
It's just I love that complexity.
I have mixed feelings about. I've loved the show, but I think if I had to give it a caption, it is these are not the Jedi you're looking for.
Yeah.
They do, I mean, think about, and it seems like they're throwaway lines, but they're not throwaway lines. These Jedi are doing scientific research.
Yeah.
They're managing a corporation.
Yep.
They are removed in some ways from Vanestra Rowe. Well, you know, Master Rowe, how your stomach gets upset when you fly.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a throwaway line.
Yeah. Oh
I don't think that's a throwaway line. I think what they're saying to us is we are managers of the Force.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
We are managing the Force.
We're also not battle tested whatsoever.
It feels like the
not
Empire.
battle tested at all.
It feels like the Empire, where at the height they become like facilitator, like
yes,
but like generals after the war. As years go by, they become politicians. They're not warriors anymore.
Yeah.
They still have it in there.
Yeah,
but they're managers.
They're not.
And I don't think it's an accident that the Jedi, the Padawan, who have British accents, I think they're hearkening back to this idea of the Empire. When it gets big, and they have all the control, it becomes there's minutia involved.
Yeah,
there's
bureaucracy.
And you can't tell them this. You have to hide this from them, and don't tell the council
just even
this.
The fact in the previous
it just feels very
back,
bureaucratic.
It does. Yeah.
When Osha's in trouble, and Soul's like, I have to go get Osha, and in Vernestra's like, well, no. First, we need to go. You need to first come back to Coruscant. You need to have an Inquisition. And he's like, she'll be dead by then. He's like, ignore that.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you side with Soul because you're like,
that's right.
You're
like, no, you got to do what's right first, and then we'll do all the paperwork later.
Paperwork.
Exactly. So
we'll do that.
Filling out forms.
You point out a great thing of that, whether it's the Empire or the Republic, and obviously there's vast differences. But as far as the people that are involved, the quality of the worker, as far as the original intent and what they were, it declines when they are not, when depending on the state of the galaxy, what their value is, what they're actually doing. I mean, look at when the Empire is the dominant force in the galaxy, how much useless the average stormtrooper is compared to the clone troopers that we see.
That's
that
right.
Are SEAL Team 6ing it and like doing all like.
That's right.
They become a laughingstock to the point that it's a joke in Star Wars about like boop boop, they can't hit anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like. Because these are not even they've been replaced by average people now. They've been they're just citizens that are pulled up, and then these Jedi are not Jedi that have ever been. Most of these Jedi have never faced anything significant.
I think it's a brilliant way to do it because they go around the galaxy, they test your blood, and if you pass, you're coming in. That's it. It's like. What about the other stuff? They
go through training, but
what about the other qualities that does everybody just get in if you have an M count of a certain level?
Yeah.
Or do you measure other qualities of courage and honesty and integrity and
no.
Yeah.
They don't.
They just get it. It's just
so we're gonna try. We're gonna put you through trial.
Even Jecki is rage, man. Rage. Yeah. And then you get what's the guy's name with Vanestra Rowe?
This is Mog.
Who is like Neville. It's like Neville Longbottom, like Seamus.
Hilarious.
I know.
You shouldn't have a wand, okay?
Yeah.
You don't deserve. You shouldn't be here. Like, it's funny, but you shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Like,
they
just let anybody in now.
This is I don't mean this to be. I don't mean this to be harsh.
You can't even. Yeah.
You and Harry do not belong at the same school.
This is a totally different. Yes. You shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
This is
and that's what my mixed feeling. Like the Jedi are just so it feels like they're so watered down and so bureaucratic.
Yeah.
Put it this way, they're they're
you
at
know
a
what I
point.
mean?
They're at a point in
it's
episode
a corporation,
6.
like you
It
said.
feels like that kind of.
Also in episode 6, to this point, when Mog is there with Vernestra, this just shows you the state of the galaxy and how they are so far, they're generations removed from facing any Sith or anything really dark side related. That when they get to when Vernestra, when Soul takes off, and Vernestra and Mog and their crew show up to Brendok, and they first they land, and Mog's talking to someone. Saying, "Oh, they say that a batch of these hatched, and that probably was, that probably took care of it, don't you think? Do you think that this creature that hatched probably wiped everything out?" And she's like, I don't know. Maybe I don't think it was just a random bird that killed everyone.
That killed all these Jedi.
Okay, and then they get there, and then they see he sees like actual dead Jedi for the first time. Lightsaber wound. You don't think Master Soul? And like
they can't
they can't even comprehend that there's someone that's not
just went rogue,
because they're like
right.
In their mind it is either it is the Jedi are the only people who have lightsabers.
Uh-huh.
The Jedi there's no one who could have been a former Jedi from years ago or from some outside.
It sounds like they haven't educated people on the Sith. Like they haven't said, "Hey, there was this group."
Yeah,
they haven't said.
No,
that.
it sounds exactly.
Here's our biggest enemy.
It's not just
balance in the Force.
It's arrogance to say we wiped them out. That's not even something to talk about.
That's the thing. It really is. It's like it's so far in our rear view that we want to pretend that they never even existed. So our new Jedi, the people that
because we don't
want
them to exist, so let's not even talk about
the people
who
most need to know the history of this of the Sith aren't even told about them anymore. What? Do you think it was Master Soul? No, I don't.
You might
I don't
call
think
me.
it was Master
And
Soul.
even the answer is.
What about that bird?
That's quite an accusation.
Yeah.
We
got
it's quite the accusation.
Darth in the chat says he's got a couple things, so I'm just gonna rattle.
Yeah,
off.
Sorry, Darth. I wanted to
says
rambling.
Indara was like Mace Windu, cared only about the Jedi Council and the Republic rules, which I would say is true until things went sideways, and then she was like, "All right, now we got to do what's best for."
This is
Osha.
too important to
He says the witches clearly. This is when we were talking about what did the witches do. He said the witches clearly did use dark side-esque magic to create the life. I think, and I'd imagine that would make upset the Jedi, along with what we had already discussed.
Some manipulation for sure.
Even just like taking over Torben's mind.
And the way that she did it, of the talk, is very intentional. Everything that they write into the. Of the way she seduces him. Don't you just want what you want? Like, don't you get it? Like, that's definitely. She's definitely saying, give in to your dark side intonations.
And I thought this was interesting too. This, I mean, it's not really a big detail in terms of the plot or anything, but people with Star Wars love timelines and how things line up.
Yeah.
And he said, I wouldn't be surprised if Indara, to compensate Torben for what happened, promoted him right away to Jedi Knight, because he is a Jedi Master after 16 years. And said, well, actually, he went from Padawan to Master in only 6 years because he took the bearish vow. That's interesting. So that's because they do, I think, mention Master Torben is the one when he's meditating and stuff.
Yeah.
So at what point? That's interesting.
Man.
Not that it's it's probably just they threw him out as a master in the story, and then that's how he became a master. But when they were writing the script, I mean, they had him be a master.
I have a couple of Leslie Headland quotes if we want to.
The Jedi are the guardians of light, and what was the quote from Obi-Wan? With the guardians of peace, light, and justice, peace and justice in the galaxy.
Before the dark times.
Before
Torben.
No.
I think it's more mixed than that. It feels.
It is.
Which we talked about coming into this show. There's so much we'll do next episode, which is the finale. We'll talk about just our overall thoughts on the show. Just what it was, because I will argue that in good ways, and I think that this is maybe what some people are struggling with on the show, is that I do think the show is different than what I thought it was going to be. In as far as what it was going to be, kind of when it was first announced, when a lot of people said like dark side focus, this. I really think it's it's much more, at least at this point, showing just the decline of how the Jedi get to the point, the Phantom Menace, that Sidious is there under their nose and they can't even sense it because they're showing the slide. They're showing, and at this point, clearly stuff has already happened. But this is a moment that I do think. Yeah. I mean, Mother Anasea has that. I don't remember the direct quote, but essentially like, those good intentions are going to lead to the end of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Those good, those good intentions are what will lead to the end of all the Jedi.
With good intentions. This is like, but the blindness of that, the arrogance of, if the intentions are good, we can do anything, or if the intentions are good, we can do this, or if the intentions are good, we're not subject to certain things, or certain things feel either beneath us or just completely out of the realm. Yeah. The fact that you think that certain possible negative outcomes are sometimes out of the realm of possibility is how we all of a sudden get to these spots that then this cover up is going to happen. There's Chimere or
all
Chimere's
the
master.
All the deception.
And we haven't even talked about what happens could potentially happen in the finale with Chimere being connected to possibly Tenebris. With
that's what
planet.
That's what I thought. It mentioned Plagueis. I thought Tenebris.
I think not that he is Tenebris, but that he is potentially a former Padawan of. I think the scar on his back is actually probably from his Sith master.
Not
Vernestra.
Not Vernestra. We'll see though.
And I think it is a Knights of Ren story. It's not a Sith story.
It's
so Kylo. This is so Episode 7. The multiple remembrances and all of that in it. The trajectory, I think it's very much like Episode 7.
It does feel.
It's very Ryan. It feels like a Rian Johnson kind of.
It does feel
storytelling with the shifts and stuff. And
there's definitely intentionality in the way the mask is structured.
Oh, I love that you can't see anything.
She said there's a reason for why we have Kylo's music in there.
Yeah, Leslie Hadley said that.
I love that you can't see out of that thing.
It's very intentional.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Can't see a thing.
Sensory
with the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to fight?
I was going to deceive you. Don't trust them.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so a couple more quotes. I know we have to wrap up here. But Leslie Headland was talking about, she's done some interviews in the last week or so, but she said, yes, the Kylo music is very intentional, and you'll have to wait to see why. You're like, okay. So I also wonder if they're kind of like messing with. It might be intentional to try to make you just.
You mean
guess
for the next movie?
What'd you say?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. She's announcing at the end of this, it's an Osha Kylo movie.
Osha Ren.
Yeah. But a couple of quotes. An
acolyte.
Yeah. So a couple of quotes here that she had from just the past week. She was talking about the finale, and she said, excuse me. Leslie Headland reveals that the births of Osha and Mae were not of virgins like Anakin's birth, and that we have not yet found out everything about their creation. Quote, this was very important to me, Dave Filoni, and Pablo Hidalgo, who he's like involved with the story group and stuff, that the girls are not of virgins. The girls themselves are not of virgins in the Force. They needed, again, and then she kind of talks around it. Again, however they got here, the act of creating them was going to need amplification. Therefore, we came around to the decision that the Virgins was on Brendok. That's true. And that it would remain mysterious. So that way, if we went back there in future tellings of the story, we could uncover a little bit more about what is actually going on there. So it's interesting. Like the Virgins is maybe something else, but the Virgins creates a good reason that the Jedi have to investigate.
Yeah.
And are there.
Or like
they're So it's interesting they come across it, but it's not necessarily the reason for the creation.
Do you think this ties back to Chimere at all, that he is involved in their creation? Or do you think he's completely separate, comes across Mae at some other point in time, and takes her on the Padawan?
I kind of don't think he's a part of their creation. It sounds like Mother Coral and Anasea, like that Mother Anasea is solely responsible for it. But I don't know. Just based on what Coral said, like what happens when they find out what you did to create them?
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm just curious. Obviously, we don't need an answer, but it does make me wonder. Like, at what point did Chimere and Mae? Well, one, how did Mae survive when we thought that she died? Essentially. Also, they all knew that she survived because Soul said, "I've had 16 years to think about what I'd tell you."
Yeah.
And Torben said, "I've been waiting for you."
Mm-hmm.
So they know at some point that she's alive. It seems like, at least that's the way that comes off to me. It seems like they know that she's alive.
I also wonder what Soul told her in that.
Yeah.
Because he said, I waited 16 years to tell you. He's
you're going to listen.
But what does he tell her? Like, I'm just recounting the
Is it just
events
that
from our
episode
point
that
of
we
view?
Saw? Is it just the episode we
But, like,
saw?
will she be like, yeah, I was there. I saw it happen? Or was she like, I'm saying, like, what is it that he thinks she needs to hear from him in that she doesn't know? Because
just
what we didn't even talk about is what we didn't even talk about is
something about that killing in that moment.
Yeah.
What we also didn't talk about at all yet is the fact that he's holding the bridge.
I know.
And then he makes the decision to let Mae go to try to save Osha.
Yeah.
And like and consciously has to decide in the moment. He decides, yep, I'm choosing her.
choosing the one who
her.
wants to join us.
So maybe part of it is also him, like maybe like a confession to her of like, just, I feel bad about this. Like I need to let you know, like I didn't think I could save you both, so I had to choose, and I chose her. Thank goodness you're alive. Somehow you survived.
Yeah.
But yeah, just thinking about the decisions and stuff, that was another thing. Last quote here. Leslie Headland was talking about season 2. Because we've talked about this before.
Yeah, season 2.
Did you see? I don't know if you guys had seen. She has walked back kind of some of the statements from before the show started. And again, I don't know if she's walked them back. I think maybe we were reading into them a little too much. Where she said stuff like, yeah, I'm saving more of these High Republic characters for season 2, this or this. And so a lot of people thought, I guess season 2 is definitely happening.
Yeah.
Turns out that's not necessarily true. Her quote of the possibility of season 2, quote, I have no idea. Well, not that I have no idea. I would say there are conversations, and I don't know when that will happen. I don't know when that decision will be made. So
these stupid review bombs make me so mad.
So I would say
stop ruining it.
I have
for
a
the
thought
rest of
about
us.
that, which I think is.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So everybody's worried about deep fakes, right? Like, oh no, they're gonna have a deep fake of Trump, and it's gonna, or they have a deep fake of Biden, and it looks just like him, and people are gonna believe it. I think the opposite is gonna happen. I think now politicians are gonna be able to say anything because they're gonna go, that wasn't me. That was a deep fake.
Oh yeah.
I think now you can take anything from those reviews and say that's a bomb. They purposely bombed, so they're not going to use them at all for their decision making. I think.
Yeah.
Because you can now go, well, we can't trust any of that. It's all fake.
They have to look at the numbers.
Could go the other way.
They have to look at the
Look
numbers.
at the viewing numbers.
They have to look at the viewing numbers, and they have to
real.
look at, is this making us money?
Yeah, that's it.
Because that's really what they care about.
That's it.
If it's making us money and people are watching, forget what people are saying about
Rotten
it.
Tomatoes is like
Make another one.
Is like Instagram followers. If it doesn't make you any money, what's the point?
Yeah.
You got a lot of people watching you for free.
Yeah.
Right. So you're right. They gotta.
They're going to look at the and right now the numbers. Right now the numbers are that it's the second most successful Star Wars show.
Bingo.
So the only one that outdid it was Kenobi, which is literally because it's Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. Yeah.
So to come in and outperform,
you can't say no to another
Ahsoka and Andor and all these other shows, Mando. To come in and outperform with all new characters, with a Rotten Tomatoes score that's going on. I mean,
the only difficult thing will just be that it'll probably be years from now. Just because stuff there's Star Wars stuff takes a while. Just meaning like if it's not something now, like Andor was already greenlit for 2 from the start.
Yeah.
When they made the announcement,
that's right.
They said we're doing 2 seasons. Before the first season was out, they had said 2 seasons.
Yep.
They had already written the second season when the first one came out, and then they filmed it soon after. And still, it's going to be a solid couple of years between Andor and next season of Andor because just it takes a long time to film this stuff. And with other projects going on. So I just wonder if
starting tomorrow
stuff that if tomorrow they greenlit it, or if right after the finale people are excited, finale happens, boom, they announce, cool, season 2 is definitely happening. Then they go, great, now we're gonna write the scripts. now we're gonna plan on the schedule of the Disney schedule or Lucasfilm schedule of resources going towards. We've got this show coming out. We've got this movie coming out. We've got Mando thing. We've got this. Then it's still like, okay, that's always the hard thing is for shows, and it's really interesting because Disney itself, whether it's Marvel or Star Wars, I think has a challenge of the bigger something gets when you have more things involved. It's you want to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And then also it's hard because
but
sometimes
you got to build the iron.
But yeah, you got to build the
heat
iron.
it up.
You want to strike while the iron's hot, but sometimes
You got to go build on.
striking while the iron's hot is just not possible. Like
Right.
meaning like we can't be like it's these shows with the budget and everything involved. It is not possible to do what we've maybe done in the past with TV shows of. Great. Lost is a massive success. In next fall, the next season comes out. In next fall, the next season comes out.
Breaking Bad.
We're like, this is like, great. This is a massive success. And I hope that 2.5 years from now, you still care about it when it comes out, when the next one comes out. Because, I mean, Stranger Things is a good example. Stranger Things is the biggest show Netflix has ever had. And like the show's still going on, and half the people forget that show's not even done
until it comes back out.
Because then it comes back out, and people go, I forgot because it's been 3 years since the previous season. It's just,
I did that.
It's just hard sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think weekly helps. I mean, I do think Stranger Things suffers sometimes because the binge, I think, backfires. Because it's the topic of conversation for a weekend versus 8 weeks in a row.
I agree.
But,
I think.
But obviously, I would love a season 2.
Lord B on here says, "Hi, I would say there will be another Leslie Headland project, but I don't know if it'll be Acolyte season 2. That's interesting. Maybe she'll do something else. Possible. She could do something else. I do like. I mean, her creative style on this was cool. I like the way this whole. It's different than any other Star Wars show we've seen or movie. Essentially, it's probably closest.
I love
to Rian
the perspectives.
Johnson, honestly,
Ryan Johnson loves
with
the
different perspectives and
yeah.
things like that. Finding out. A little bit, thinking one thing, but then revealing a little bit more of what actually happened.
Is she a Breaking Bad fan?
Oh, yeah.
I think she is.
Yeah, she is, because she quoted, we talked about it on the podcast before, that she said the intro.
It does feel like that.
She said the intro of season 1.
We have in this season.
She said the intro of season 1, or the intro of episode 1 on this show, of Indara fighting Mae and dying. She said in her mind in television the best intro to a show that she has seen. This is a quote that said. Is the intro, the cold open to Breaking Bad, where he's out in the desert, he's in the underwear and he's got a gun and he's sitting there and he makes a phone call, he pulls out the gun and you hear police sirens and he's just pointing a gun and then the show starts and you're like, what has happened?
How did we get here?
She said that was. She said now I don't. She's I think clearly a big Breaking Bad fan because she's like. I think she's even quoted. She's talked about Ryan before too. How she really likes Ryan Johnson too.
And Fly. And,
exactly. So there's definitely connections there. I think she's
right.
It's apparent in some of the storytelling.
It's awesome.
But
we could talk about this for a week. I could. I feel like we haven't even got into it, but.
No,
I know.
Sorry, I gotta go.
We have budget constraints of our own.
Before we
do.
Before we end, any predictions for the finale? Just real quick.
No.
All right.
All right. Where can they find us?
See ya.
I think we find out. We find out Mae's side of the fall. We hear about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we get more details about the master of Chimeras master.
I think so too. I think we see
Tenebris,
and I think so. Maybe I don't know. I think Soul and Mae have a coming together.
Soul and Mae.
So.
I believe so.
Do we think Osha leans in at all to the dark side?
With
her, she's got the like. Is there a switch? Like Mae.
I think there's a.
Or
I think there's a switch.
You do?
I think so.
I think it's a Breaking Bad moment. She's gonna take it off and go, "Yeah, right. Nice try."
And so, what do you think? Predictions.
Maybe not, but we'll see.
I think that some of our main characters do not survive.
Oh,
I think Soul might.
I think Soul might die.
I think Soul might go.
I think he's maybe the most likely of our main characters to die.
But not from.
I think there's a chance Chimera dies too. I think there's a chance that Chimera survives, but I think that Soul and Chimera, because he says we have a lot of work to do. He's going for Osha. They're on a path to go find her.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that there's a big battle that both the stranger Chimere and
Leslie
Soul
Headland
both
also
die.
did say.
I do think Soul, and I just think Soul could.
Leslie Headland did say
sacrifice
you will
himself
see at least
for Mae.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I think
Leslie
that
Headland
could
did
happen.
say you'll see at least 2 Sith in this series.
All right.
So
Okay, Tenebrous.
does that mean
I would love
Or
to
does
see
Tenebrous?
Osha
that.
become a
Does that mean Tenebrous, or does that mean Osha becomes?
But that would be interesting of the season, or
So-
if the show ended and your main, kind of, protagonist
Man.
as the show started became a Sith would be very different.
It would be very different. But I think
That'd be
they
a big
counter-
jump. One
they-
episode, that'd be a very
Which, although
large
it's, I
jump.
guess it wouldn't
Yeah, I
be. Yeah.
Or I
Maybe.
mean, which again, she could be saying that as like it's the start of her becoming
Mhm.
that, and then now it's just she's joined him, and that's just
Tell
the
me what I
beginning of it.
must do.
Yeah, I don't know. I do
What
think
must I
Mae.
do?
I do think Mae will actually connect with Soul and turn to the light side. I do think Mae will do that.
So you
She
think
was so
she
close.
will fight with him to try to free Osha
Try to
from.
get Osha back.
I think so. I think
could see
so.
it. I mean,
I think because of the way
Few
everything
days.
went down.
Saturday. It's just a few days away.
yeah, it's just a few days from
Yeah,
the finale.
I think she's gonna see that even though the Jedi were wrong in some of the things that they did and the decisions they made, that she is going to understand that they also didn't just come in and what happened wasn't also the way she saw it perceived in her
Yeah,
mind either.
There's more to it than
that
what
they
she
just
knows.
came in and slaughtered everybody.
yeah.
That there was a lot more to it, and she's gonna maybe see that.
And as always, it's just what. Yes, you're saying. We said this earlier. Chimera, you're saying things. You're great. Good for you that you're pointing out errors of the Jedi. Why are you doing it? Why are you pointing this out to me
Yeah.
right now? Because what is it that you want me to do?
okay,
Oh, you want me to go then slaughter all these people? Okay,
Of
now
course.
I know for a fact
You're
that
bad.
you are a bad guy.
you're bad.
So you're
You're bad.
I just want you to be your full self. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. And
For
what does that mean?
what reason?
I just want you to like when he was like,
Help me
I
kill
just
all the
want-
Jedi.
the Jedi would
Yeah.
say that I can't exist. Oh man, I'd feel bad for you, Chimera. Why would they say that? Well, I mean, I do slaughter people. Okay, well now I see why the Jedi
Wait,
say
why?
you can't
Because
exist.
be a
why?
reason.
Why do they want you to exist? Because I don't want them to
Because
exist.
I want them to die.
Okay.
Okay, you're
Okay,
you gotta
I
get.
got
Last thing, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Lord B in the chat says, "I think Tenebrous will appear at the end and kill Chimere.
Oh.
Will that show a little
Join
power?
me, Osha.
Show that Chimere, after all he's done, is still nothing compared
Still
to Tenebrous.
nothing.
That would be crazy.
It would be. What if it just like it's a final shot at the end? He kills, Chimera kills Soul, but loses Osha and Mae, and they get off world somehow, and he just goes back to the cave, and all of a sudden, Tenebrous just comes out of the shadows and goes, "How did it go? It's just, what did I miss?"
Don't get me started.
He wakes up and
This-
goes,
he pulls
"Oh."
a Buster Bluth. Oh, we're just
He goes-
blowing right through nap time, aren't we?
He just goes, "Oh, there's my helmet. I've been looking for that."
I've been looking for
Chimere
that.
just been taking it.
I wonder where I put
The
that
Buster.
thing.
Yeah.
The Buster Bluth. They're in the facility, and
So funny.
Jeffrey Tambor's like, I don't know. He's talking to Michael.
blow through
He's
nothing, huh?
talking to Mike. He's like, I don't know. He's like, somehow, whatever happened to Buster, he just turned out a little soft,
I
a little
know,
doughy.
he's-
I don't know. Maybe I just completely ignored the guy, and then it just pans, and Buster's sitting right there. Oh wow, we're just blowing right through nap time, aren't we?
So good.
Maybe
All
I just
right.
ignored the guy.
There you have it. Let us know your thoughts. If you made it this far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, smash the notification bell so you don't miss when we go live to talk about the finale next week.
Oh boy,
And,
a few days.
Comment after we end the live. Go ahead and drop a comment. Let us know your thoughts, your predictions for how the show will end. We're excited. We're looking forward to it. We're loving the series so far. Can't wait to get some answers. And we'll catch you guys in the finale. We'll catch you guys next time. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Did you ever hear of the tragedy of Darth Chimera the Ripped?
The rip.
I thought not.
It appears.
It's not a story the Jedi would tell you.
It appears.
Darth Chimera was a dark lord of the
Where
Sith
can I
who
learn this
loved,
power?
he loved his bath time, and he would just randomly just drop into a bath. He would never know when really he would do it, but ironic. He could save others, but not himself.
Not dress himself.
You're like, well,
I'm curious
what
how he
did the
got those
bath have to do
wounds.
with that story? I just wanted to make sure you remember that he took a